This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to Saturday afternoon here in the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. My name is James Hendry. David is on camera. And for the first 45 minutes, of course, we are dedicating this to the kids. We've got a fascinating thing going on here, and in fact something I have never seen before. These two kudu are walking around looking desperately like they need to go to the loo, but what they're doing is displaying to each other. I've only seen this with their smaller Ngala cousins. I've never seen this with two kudu bulls, and basically what they do is they walk around like they're really stiff and sore. And it's a way of displaying. That white mantle on the back there flicks up on the back, the tail comes up, and then they walk very stiffly around each other. And I've never seen kudu do this before. And just now they did nearly come to blows. They nearly hit each other with their horns. Now remember, if you'd like to ask any questions, you can do that using the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. That's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Let's just see if they do it again, because really it was quite fascinating to behold. Well, Luke, your wait is over. You say you can't wait for the safari. We're on safari. And hopefully it'll be a cracking good afternoon. It's about 28 degrees Celsius out here, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And with any luck, we'll have some great action. We're going to head down towards where we had 3 leopards this morning. We got very lucky and found 3 leopards, a mother and her 2, I think 10-month-old-ish cubs today. And they have a kill, so there's a good chance we'll see them. It's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance. That's what we'll try and do today. These kudu seem to, unfortunately, now be making peace with each other. I suppose it's quite fortunate for them, not for us. And one is moving away from the other. Very interesting to have seen. And those of you who are regular viewers, or those of you who've been out to the bush before, will know, of course, that the Ngala is the one that does this normally. They normally avoid physical contact, except in extreme cases, and they will dance around each other for hours like that sometimes. There's a Ngala there. And he's actually looking towards the kudu as if to say, is that all you got? And they are famed for doing this stiff-legged, balletic kind of Tai Chi / dressage dance. I've never seen it with kudu before. I don't recall ever even reading about it with kudu before, but that's definitely what was going on there. Cool. Let's carry on. We'll begin heading down towards the south and get down towards where we had those leopards this morning. Hopefully we'll see some fun stuff on the way. If the leopards aren't there, well, then we'll go and find whatever else there is to see. Oh, and the other thing we did this morning, of course, was we went in to see Ribbon the hyena, and she had stuffed an impala skull into the middle of her den, presumably to feed her babies. Anyway, maybe Lauren will go and check them. Maybe we will a bit later. Let's see what happens. Let's go across to Lauren now and find out what her plans are.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on board your live safari. We are staring at the moon. Yes, the moon that's in its first quarter, 68.7%, which I love. I love full moon. I'm such a lunar child. But my name is actually Lauren, and I do have Owen on camera this afternoon. And we don't have any plans. We're going to bumble. I wasn't out this morning. James got incredibly lucky with Sabui and cubs. I'm so jealous. I've never seen Sabui's cubs, but they look stunning. And I believe it's not known who Sabui's, the cub's father is. So it's very, very interesting. Well done, James. So I think I'm just going to bumble, explore, see what I can find. I'm hoping to find some elephants now. I believe they're at the dam. So we're not too far away from there. So other than that, I have no plans. I'm going to answer all of your wonderful questions. Start thinking of your elephant questions now, because they are on the jam cam, so we know we're going to find them. It's not too much of a surprise, and hopefully we'll get to see them having a pool party. It's a hot day, 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can only guess that the elephants will be feeling the heat too. And the first thing they're going to do is go to water. Now I'm just driving slowly. There was lots of vultures in this area this morning. So before I go to the elephants, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any clues. Owen also heard a lot of noise during the night last night that sounded like the vocalizations of cats. So I think there's a predator here. And when I know there's a predator, I must search for them. So I think we'll spend some time with the elephants and then we'll come back and search for, well, a predator of some sorts. I don't know. They could be anywhere, of course. Oh, hello. You're not a predator, but hello. Oh, hello. Everybody's here. Is this a giraffe party? Oh, and I'm just going to get a view of these ones, I think. 4 giraffes. I think this is the 4 females that we are seeing all the time. Hello, ladies. Aren't you beautiful? Yes, you are. You see the different colorations are not the same. You can get really, really dark colored giraffes. You can get really light colored giraffes. Are you having a good look at us? I'm having a good look at you. Because you're so beautiful. That's definitely a female. The 3 that I can see are females. Albert, you're 4 years old in London. I am also from the UK, but a little bit further away from you, I'm afraid. And you're asking, how tall are giraffes? Well, of course, they're the tallest land mammals, and the male can go up to a maximum of 6 meters, which is around 18 feet, but they normally come in at about 5 meters, which is 15 feet. And the females are slightly shorter, but of course a lot taller than us, and they come in at around 4 meters, which is of course 12 feet. The females also weigh a lot less than the males. The males are very, very heavy. The males can weigh anywhere between 1,000 to 1,400 kilograms. The females normally weigh around 700 to 900 kilograms. So that's quite a big difference, not only in height, but also in weight. I think this is the same giraffes we're seeing on a daily basis. It's safe, there's open clearings where they can see, and there's lots of food, lots of delicious food around. Giraffes are sometimes called the lighthouses of the bush because they see all, they know all. So a lot of smaller herbivores, like your Kudu that James showed you, or impala, in Ngala, they will look up to giraffes sometimes, literally, and to see if the giraffe has spotted anything, any causes for concern. I'm also looking up. I'm looking up for any signs of vultures, but so far, no luck. They're so beautiful, aren't they? Very feminine, these ones. Emily Rose, you're asking how fast can a giraffe run? They can actually run faster than you would think, but we call it a gallop. So they don't really have many ways of moving. They have 2 gaits, either ambling, which is the way that they walk, or galloping. And when they gallop, they can reach anywhere between 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, which is actually quite fast for a giraffe, considering they walk with both front and back, right or left. This is my left, and then right, and then left, and then right. It's a very unique way of walking, the same as camels. And of course, this is because they're tall and they need to make sure they're evenly balanced. Imagine if they ended up tripping and falling and constantly landing in heaps on the floor. So they walk in a very unique way, the same as camels, to support their bodies. They've obviously got the force of gravity coming down, and then they need balance on the ground. but they can run or gallop up to 60 kilometers per hour, which is very fast for an animal of that size. So moving on from the tallest mammal, we're going to head to the largest mammal. Hopefully we're going to see lots and lots of elephants for you all. What a great start. So as I bumble on and make my way to andBeyond Ngala at the Timbavati, as Sean wants to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. Still stuck with myself, Sean, and Marcel. Now, we've had a couple of things happening so far. We had Rowan with us now, and we dropped him off on tracks of a leopard. So this morning, quite later on in the morning, about 10 o'clock, some of the tracking teams found the Makoti male, that young male leopard that we've been seeing, and they followed him for a while. Still moving earlier this morning, and dropped off where he was lost, and we got shallow and fast, which lovely. In the meantime, area west as flat, and they were.
Sorry about that, everybody. Sometimes a little tricky, the signal out of andBeyond Ngala. It's not because of andBeyond or Ngala, it's just because of, well, I could moan about the indolence of our cellular telephone operators in this country, but probably I'd be sued, so I won't. I guess I just have. That's where the signal is coming from. Anyway, there it is. We'll get them back soon, and with any luck, Sean will be, well, he will definitely be taking us through the magic of Ngala. There is a hornbill on the road, but it is not the bird that I wish to stop for. There is also a white-browed scrub robin in this tree over here. It's just hopping around, kind of in the back. No, it has flown away. It does not want to be around us. There we go. What a sighting. Look at that. Hey everybody, did you see that? There was at least half a feather, but it could have been a leaf shaking in the wind. No, there it is, bottom right. Oh, and a waxbill. That'll do. No, that'll do just as well. A waxbill, and there is a chagra, black-crowned chagra. This bush is like a Christmas tree, full of exciting avifauna. Most of it completely invisible. I think just zoom in, you'll find something. There's some flickering about there, bottom down and left slightly. There we go. That's a leaf. Good one. No. Finished here. Let's go back up now to the waterhole near camp, where Lauren is with some elephants.
We found them. I mean, it's not too difficult, really. They are rather large, but we found them. They're not swimming, but that's okay. I think they've had a drink. They've maybe had a splish splash, and now they're feeding. You can hear them. Oh, these youngsters are having a little tussle over there, Owen. Oh, I think they've stopped. Hey, look at this small one. So sweet. You can see that this one's been thrown mud all over himself. And they do that as a way to protect them. Thank you for doing that on cue. You're a star. This is called dust bathing. He's doing it intentionally because it feels really, really good on the skin to cover yourself in dust. You've got really, really dry skin. It maybe dislodges any insects that are stuck there, but also it helps protect the skin from the sun. So we all put sunscreen on, or we should, but of course elephants can't do that. So this is their natural way of putting sunscreen on. And it also looks like fun. Albert, again from London. You are asking, what do they eat? In summer, and it's summer right now, it's the very end of summer, but they eat a lot of different things. So they'll eat the leaves of many different trees out here. They'll pull them off with their trunk. They'll also dig up any delicious sort of bulbs or tubers in the ground using their tusks, and they'll tear up the grass from the ground. So they eat many, many different things in summer, but in winter they are slightly restricted because most of the grass will die. Most of the trees will lose their leaves, and there won't be so much choice. So they'll be restricted in what they eat during winter out here, but during summer they have a really broad diet, Albert. We're getting a head shake from this one. But yes, they love leaves and grass. Emma, you're from my country, bonnie Scotland. Lovely to hear from you. You're asking, how do they sleep? They can lie down, yes. Especially the youngsters. So small young elephants always lie down. They're very dramatic about it. So when they're tired and they no longer want to walk, they take a mini tantrum and they'll lie down. And normally the rest of the herd will all stand around this youngster to guard it and protect it. But they can also rest standing up. They can close their eyes and just take a period of, I wouldn't say sleep as such. It's not the same way that you and I sleep, but it's periods of rest. So they don't put their heads on pillows and sleep for 8 hours a night, but they can lie down. Very often you'll come across elephants that are just having a snooze down on the ground. And it's rather hilarious because it's not so easy for them to get up. They're very large, cumbersome animals, and it takes them a little bit of effort to get up. But they're said to be quite sleepless mammals. They don't require as much sleep as you or I. I definitely require a lot of sleep. If I don't get my beauty sleep, it's not going to be a good day. But elephants can survive on a lot less sleep, around 5 or 6 hours per day. The herd is all around us. How lovely. Aria, you're from Chicago and you're 4 years old. Oh, and I'm thinking about just reversing so we can get a view of the herd behind us. Aria, I haven't seen the matriarch. The lead elephant is called a matriarch. I haven't seen her. You can't normally pick her out straight away. You've got to see the entire herd and watch the dynamics for a little while in order to gauge who the matriarch is. So I haven't actually seen her, so I couldn't possibly tell you how old she is, but the matriarch's normally the largest, but sometimes that's a little bit of a tricky rule to follow because she might not be the largest, but she'll definitely be the oldest. The matriarch's the one with all the knowledge of the land, the knowledge of the seasons, the knowledge of the culture of how to be an elephant, the knowledge of how to protect the young, how to protect the females from naughty males. So the matriarch's the one with all the knowledge, but she's not as easy to pick out as you would think. You actually have to spend a little bit of time, Aria, looking at the herd, okay, who are the large females? And then slowly but surely, once you watch all these large females, you can start to gauge. Hello. Aria, this one's saying hi to you. me see you. Seb? Did I get that name right? I think it was Seb. You're 8 years old from Surrey. You're asking, how do elephants have fun? That's a really good question, Seb, because I'm a big believer from everything that I've studied. Sorry, I'm just keeping my eyes and ears out because the elephants are surrounding us. That all animals will play. All animals, whether you are a tiny snail, or you're a fish, or you're a shark, or you're a ginormous elephant, or an impala, or an insect, all animals will engage in play for many different reasons, but one of those reasons said will be fun. So that's a fantastic question. Elephants have lots of fun. They love to smell things. They get very excited by nice smells. They love to play. We watch youngsters wrestling, climbing on top of one another. We watch the slightly older boys having wrestling matches in the water, and they love it. Elephants are really tactile, and what that means, Seb, is they love to touch one another, especially with their trunks. So many noises. So yes, they love to engage in play, and they do it in so many ways, but it's normally with one another. They love to run around the ground and scratch themselves and do roly-polies as well. Hello. Everyone's coming to have a little inspection of us. Okay, I think we're going to lose this herd soon. They are moving off into a block. But as I sit and enjoy them, we are going to send you guys across to James with the water buck.
Here we have got some water buck. A adult bull, well, adultish bull, and a young bull. And they've decided that they don't like you very much, so they're leaving. Which I think is very unfair of them. They were actually standing here with a warthog, 2 of them, and they'd been having a great time in the mud there, obviously. But the warthogs in this reserve, for some reason, are more terrified than any warthogs I've ever seen before. And you know, a lot of warthogs, if you live around them, they habituate to people very nicely, and they'll actually become almost completely tame. You've always got to be a little bit careful, but they don't run away from people like they do here. It's actually very seldom that we have a good warthog sighting, because the warthogs tend to run away. We're still trundling down towards the south, hoping that we'll find our leopard. But we will stop for everything on the way, because maybe she won't be there. Charlotte, animals have horns for a number of different reasons, but the main reason that those waterbuck and the impala have got horns is for the bulls or the males to fight with each other. And they fight with each other because they like the females too much, Charlotte, and so they want them all for themselves, and so they use those horns to fight with each other, and also to display. That means to show off to the females. So that's why they've got horns. Most of the time. Sometimes they've got horns to defend themselves from predators. But most of the time out here, it's to fight with each other. Which seems like a bit of a waste of energy, doesn't it? Anyway, they're very complicated biological reasons why it's necessary. Ooh, this is very exciting. We're going to go back to andBeyond Ngala, not for leopards, not for lions, but for the other great African cat.
Yes, welcome back. Look what we managed to find. Remember, I don't know when we crash cut away from me earlier, but we're saying we're following up on the vulture activity. As we come down here, what did we find? Beautiful, beautiful cheetah. So I'm trying to see. We haven't got too good of a view of its face yet. It it has been walking. Possibly the same one that we saw, what, 3 days ago? 2-3 days ago? Oh, stunning though. We're staying here for now. You can see, so we saw him here. We're on the road, and then he moved off. I'm assuming it's a he. I'm trying to get a look. Let's see, now we will follow him. I don't know, is it the same one? Its stomach, you can see, is relatively full. It's hanging down quite a bit there, but look just in front of the back legs. It's a bit hard from this angle. If he carries on, we're going to follow, but look at, is he going to, so it actually looks like it might be a female. Looks like it might be a female, guys. That is quite interesting. We're going to go forward and see if we can go. There she goes. So she's still going over here. Looks like she might be trying to find a shady spot. I hope she's going to lie down right there. Ah, fantastic. How's that angle? That will work. There we go. That's very exciting. 2 cheetahs in 1 week. And 4 in the last couple of days. Beautiful. I think this one is a different cheetah to the one that you saw with me. It just looks slightly paler in color. The last one that we saw, we are pretty sure it was a male. This one is a female. She seemed quite hesitant. Full stomach, like it's hanging quite low. But look, just in front of the back legs, you can see there's a bit of a hollow there. Now that is where the stomach is. So that would suggest to me that it hasn't eaten recently. Yeah, it's definitely a different one. If she looks this way, look at that head. Look at the coloring on the head. It is quite pale. And the one from the other day had a much darker head. It also had some scars. So Sophie, cheetahs, well, so you saw this one walking. Beautiful, beautiful animal, Sophie, but quite skinny, very sort of lean, almost fragile looking. So their food is generally smaller things, maybe female impalas, little dikers. What else we have? Maybe a steenbok if it can catch one. Small warthogs they might take. But the majority of their meals would be impalas. You know, nice big open areas where impalas like to hang out. The cheetah is big enough to take one down, and then it's also a lot of food for the cheetah. You know, it can, this cheetah, one impala will feed it, it will eat it all in, maybe an hour, 45 minutes, or eat as much as it can. Oh, fast asleep. Daniela, 10-year-old Daniela, the cheetahs have spots. Have a look at it. Now that it's lying down, if Marcel just zooms out a tiny bit for us, look how well it's camouflaging there in the grass. Like it's blending in very, very well. And that's what the spots do, Daniela. They help the cheetah to blend in to its environment, to this grass, to the bushes. So they help the cheetah when it's trying to hunt, when it's trying to hide from maybe lions or leopards or hyenas, and it just camouflages. So there's a good chance that this one maybe ate. Remember I said its stomach was a little bit full, so maybe it ate a bit this morning, but its food got stolen by hyenas. That's what I'm betting on. That's why there were so many vultures. Sometimes even the vultures can chase away the cheetah. Because look how small it is. Look at its head. Got a very, very small head. If you remember from the hyenas this morning, I mean significantly bigger in terms of just size and mass. But it looks like this cheetah has found a lovely spot to rest in. Perfect bit of shade. Still got quite a good view around it so it can see if anything's coming. Remember, cheetah's quite alert still. So we've got a good question from Boston, from 12-year-old Anya. It's actually a discussion that me and Marcel were having the other day. She's asking about the teardrops. So those are the black lines that you can see on the face there, running down from the eyes. So there's a number of theories, Anya, as to the purpose of the teardrops. One theory says that, cheetahs, they're daytime animals. They hunt in the day. So that black will help sort of absorb the sunlight so that the cheetah's eyesight is not too affected by the sun. It could also help a bit with the camouflage while it's hunting. If you're in Impala, the cheetah, is coming right at you. If you look at it, maybe those black lines help with a bit of camouflage. It could help with sort of, what's the word I'm looking for visual communication, so like behavioral things. The cheetah, I keep saying leopard, the cheetah will use those spots to communicate its emotions with other cheetahs possibly. What other theories did we have? There's a number of theories, and as to exactly what the stripes and the spots do. My two prominent ones for me would be for the sun, for hunting during the day, and then for sort of camouflage. Because if you think about it, look at the two predators that hunt in the day, mainly hunt in the day, would be wild dogs and cheetahs. Wild dogs, a lot of black around the eyes. Same thing, to try and ease the eyesight in the sun. You look at your nocturnal predators, things like lions, leopards, they got a lot of paler, whiter colors around their eyes, especially lions. They got big white stripes, and that helps to reflect the moon and the starlight into their eyes, and that would increase their night vision. So for me, that makes the most sense. But I mean, how incredible is that? Perfect spot for it to be relaxing. So Alonso, 6 years old from London. How's it, Alonso? Cheetahs will sleep on the ground. Cheetahs, they don't really climb trees, not like leopards. If there's a fallen over tree, tree lying on its side, or a termite mound, something like that, Alonso, the cheetahs can walk up or climb partially up a fallen over tree, but they will rest on the ground. They can't climb sort of straight up a tree like a leopard. Often if you go to places like Kenya, Masai Mara, Serengeti, you'll often find cheetahs on termite mounds because they like that height advantage. You get a bit higher, you can see more, you're slightly safer. So they do try and climb termite mounds, hills, rocks, fallen over trees to get a better view. But if it's just relaxing, as you're seeing like this, Alonso, just on the ground, having a nap in the grass. I just don't think they have the muscle strength to carry themselves up a tree.
I think it's also to do with their wrist design.
Marcel's saying it might also have to do with their wrist design. So remember the size of this cheetah now, in terms of its bulk, its muscle mass, things like that. Me and Marcel are going to sit here and watch it sleep. And in the meantime, we're going to send you to James, who has another cat.
We've made it back to where our cats were this morning, and for those of you who weren't on drive with us today, this is the young male cub of a leopardess called Sibui, and he's doing his best to pick this kill up and put it in the tree. Well, it's in the tree, but he's doing his best to put it in a position where it's a bit more comfortable for him to eat. Now, I know this can look a little bit disgusting if you are a younger viewer, but you know, he's got to eat, and this is just meat, and the impala obviously is not feeling anything now. Very, very special times to be able to spend any sort of time with a leopard like this. His mother and his sister will be around here somewhere. We haven't looked hard for them, so we'll just enjoy him for now. We are so lucky to see this, and you know, this is the first time I've met this cub, was this morning. In fact, first time I've met the family. I have never met his mother or his sister until this morning. And I really think this is a great opportunity for you to compare the two spotted cats. Especially when you look at a young male like this, and you can see that his limbs, his legs, are much shorter than the cheetah's, and he's much stockier. He's got much more muscle on them than the cheetah does. I'm just going to be a bit quiet now so that you can listen to him eating. I think you'll probably find that this kill is about, I'm going to say 2 days old. I suspect it was made not last night but the night before. They've eaten a lot. Most of it I think they would have eaten on the ground, and I think she pulled it up into the tree probably last night or this morning. He's so hungry, he's eating like he's never eaten before, but his belly was so big and fat this morning that he'd obviously been eating on it for some time. What is going on there? Is there a bird there? Ah, there's a nest. I think there's a nest. It must be in the knot of the tree there.
Not by the leg.
Yeah. I'm guessing that there's a nest there. One of its little hornbill nest, perhaps. It's definitely a very distressed bird somewhere close by. How bizarre. I think that's where it's coming from, though, because the entrance is now blocked. Ooh, don't fall, little fella. Now, Sam, leopards don't actually sleep in trees very often. They do sometimes, and the main reason they'll sleep in a tree is to get away from the biting flies, maybe sometimes. Sometimes it's just cooler, sometimes they feel safer up there, and sometimes they lie in trees because it helps them to see a bit further. But most of the time they sleep on the ground. And in actual fact, when you see them in trees is quite often because they've got a kill like this. Sometimes they just sleep in trees, but it's not all the time. I have no idea what's making that noise or what kind of bird. It's an interesting question from Ayla. Ayla, no, they don't. They're actually born pretty much with the spots that they'll have for life. They're just very small spots. I don't know, Ayla, if you've ever blown up a balloon, but if you haven't, what you should go and do is ask your folks if they can give you a balloon, and then take a black Koki pen or marker and put spots all over the black Koki, all over the balloon, and then blow up the balloon. And what you'll see is that the spots get bigger as you blow it up. So don't put spots on the unblown up balloon and then blow the balloon up. And it's just the same. So they're born with tiny little spots that just get bigger as the leopard gets bigger. Alistair, you're 7 and you're wondering why a cheetah's tail is white. Oh, no. Alright, I'm going to try and get back to Alistair's question when I have it read to me in a form of English I can recognize. George, age 5, and Isla, age 10. You're wondering who would win in a fight between a leopard and a cheetah. We actually do know the answer to that question, and it's a leopard. Because a leopard is stronger and is more willing to fight and can deal with a little bit more injury than a leopard can. So you'll sometimes see a leopard chase off a cheetah or scavenge from a cheetah, take a cheetah's kill. A cheetah is like a really... I'm going to say the term prissy, like a really prissy sprinter, you know, who's really can't run if they've got a slight niggle, slight injury, they can't cope with it. And a leopard is relatively similar because they live on their own, so they have to be able to hunt. But these guys can scavenge as well, and a cheetah can't scavenge. So a leopard can take a few more risks than a cheetah, and because of that, they would chase a cheetah or dominate a cheetah at a kill. But neither of them would try and dominate a hyena, a wild dog, or a lion at a kill. This is a greedy guts, this little fellow, isn't he? Just eating himself into a stupor. So, Alistair, I believe you were asking why the leopard's tail has got a white tip to it. The reason for that, Alistair, is that we think there are two reasons. One is so that they can follow each other. So when he follows his mother, when his mother needs to find him, she can see the tip of the tail. But the other reason is they use it as a signal to birds. So if birds are going, or squirrels are doing the same thing at the leopard, often they'll lift that tail up. And what it says to the bird or the squirrel is, I'm not hunting you right now, I'm just walking past. Alright, that's going to be the end of the specialised kids show. The rest of you are now welcome to send through your questions on the hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube or on Twitch. We'd happily talk to you. Any questions, comments that you might have. And if you did miss it, this is the cub, the male cub of Sibuyi. As far as I know, around about 10 months old. And his sister is close by, and his mother is almost certainly close by as well. But I'm not sure exactly where. haven't looked. We've just come straight here, and this young fellow is in the tree having a meal. Now, obviously this rather unpleasantness, or this unpleasant thing that is the COVID lockdown, has resulted in a lot of celebrations being postponed or cancelled, and that includes a lot of weddings. And my own wedding was very, very fortunately 2 weeks before lockdown, so we managed to get it all in. But not so lucky were Josh and Ali, who were supposed to be getting married today at Shepherd's Tree Lodge in the Pilansberg. So unfortunately that's not possible, and they're having a Zoom celebration today. And I really feel for you guys, especially as I have just got married myself, and it was definitely the most special day of my life. And so Josh and Ali, I hope that you're managing and enjoying your Zoom meeting. All I can do is say that we wish you all the very best in your marriage, and we hope that these images go some way to enhancing the celebration that you're having today. And we hope that you will have a very long and fruitful life together, and that you will be able to celebrate it sometime soon in a more public space with all of your friends and all of your family. So congratulations, well done, and I hope you have a great day. My deepest sympathies to you, given that you're not for getting married. I've quite enjoyed being married so far, but my deepest sympathies that you've had to cancel what I'm sure would have been a wonderful celebration. Alrighty, let's go across to Laura now. She's got a hippopotamus, and we'll stay here with these cats and maybe try and find mum and sister.
We have... Oh, there's two. The resident hippos of Buffelshoek Dam. Oh, how I would love to be in the water on a day like today. It would be so pleasant. Maybe not on Buffelshoek Dam, but being in the water in general would be so lovely. Now, once we really start to get into winter, the concentration of hippos at the larger dams that retain their water for longer will become higher, become more dense, especially Cheetah. I imagine Cheetah is really going to become sort of... Thank you for that update, Natalie. Sorry, I can't remember what I was saying now. Yes, so Cheetah is going to become very sort of, well, congested is a good word. And because we've had more rainfall than we've had in so long this year, I'm also wondering how it's going to work with the other dams. It's going to take them longer to sort of lose their water. So it's going to be really interesting watching the hippo dynamics. And I know that sounds slightly crazy, but if you have too many animals in an area for that area's carrying capacity, it can cause a lot of problems. And it did in Cheetah. There was far too many hippos for the volume of water, which means they were too congested. The sort of spatial arrangement of them all was too small. And there was a lot of aggression, lots of fights between dominant males, and some young were killed, I'm afraid. It was a terrible sighting that Tristan had. I'll never forget it. But the hippos were pooping, as they do, and they cannot help themselves. And the water just became far too congested with their feces, and it caused so many problems. Really caused a lot of problems for the hippos, and therefore it caused a mass fish die-off, as some of you may be able to remember. And this is because it was far too many nutrients in that water body that it depleted oxygen. Now, it wasn't completely anoxic. Anoxic means when there's no oxygen at all. It was sort of temporary areas of hypoxia, which is really, really low levels of oxygen. And therefore, the fish died. They couldn't survive. And there was just fish littered everywhere on the banks of Cheetah. I don't know where our hippos have disappeared to. They've obviously submerged themselves, as they can, for up to about 6 minutes. Tara, you're asking how long they can hold their breaths underwater. I was just referencing that, actually. Great minds think alike. Normally, the adults can hold their breath anywhere between 5 to 6 minutes. And the young, they can't do so well. So when they're sort of a newborn, they'll only be able to hold, oh, here we go, Owen. They'll only be able to hold their breaths for about 40 seconds. And then as they get older and bigger, and of course those lungs get bigger and they start to practice exercising their lungs, then they can hold their breaths for longer periods of time. But a normal adult is between 5 to 6 minutes, which is a lot longer than your average human. Unless you're a free diver, of course. There's a fantastic freediver called William Truebridge, who freedived on one breath and no fins, all the way down to 101 meters and back again. Yes, you should Google it. It's incredible, an incredible human. But you can train your lungs. As a human, you probably could push 6 minutes, but only on an expert level. Other than that, you have to be a hippo. Now, since our hippos are not being very, well, they're not enjoying the camera today, we're going to keep bubbling. I want to try and see as much of the reserve as possible today to see what else we can find. I'm also hoping for some and the eastern boundary for a change. And as I do that, I'm going to send you back across to James and his leopards.
All right, he's come down the tree. I'm just going to shift forward. We found the other two. Try and Thelias not to disturb them. Isn't on. I think it's mum and daughter. At least son. I'm going to watch her. I don't know her very well. I don't know how comfortable she is. I think she's probably pretty comfortable. I just don't want to give her a fright by getting too close. So you can probably see them both there. Darv, is that right? So there's Mum. She's got a very, very pink nose. And just behind Mum is daughter. He's quite adventurous, this little fellow. He went wandering off this morning, and Mum followed him. And they left the daughter here at the tree. I think she's quite a big female, this. She's got a pretty solid head. I think if you saw her next to Tawny, who's obviously the other female we see the most frequently, I think you'd be impressed at how much bigger she is. Yeah, I'd say she's a good 10 to 15% bigger than Tawny. Back down towards her son now, who's just sneezed. Now that's a good sized female leopard, that. Maybe even 20% bigger than Tawny. And there's the little girl. We'll just let her move and then we'll go and try and join the other two as well. They haven't gone far. There is some very, very thick bush around here though, so if they go into that, we may just have to go and park off at the tree and wait for them to come back. So sweet. Bruce, it's normally the younger ones that have bluish eyes. I don't know that they're ever that sort of ice blue. And they normally change colour by the time they get a bit older. Some of them retain a slightly bluish hue, but it is not common. So we're just having a little bit of a grooming session in here. Right, while these leopards groom each other and have a good time, we're going to go back across to Ngala, where the cheetah are, I don't know what they're doing.
Okay, so we've had some activity here, but firstly, what a fantastic afternoon. I mean, cheetah, leopard with cubs in a tree, just crazy. But anyway, so this cheetah has moved. Now, it looked like it saw something. Marcel and I, we scanned, we couldn't see anything. On our way here, we did drive past some impalas, and the cheetah did change its behavior slightly. It sort of went lower down, it was like a crouch walk, and went around these trees. So like, now watch it. See, so watch it. Okay, so now it's walking a bit more normally. Look at the head, look at the shoulders. It's standing fairly upright. How beautiful is that coat as it comes into the sun and it just catches the coat. If it looks this way, while it's in the sun, you'll see its eyes just glow. It's incredible. You can see now, so off to our left, sort of back behind us, that's where it looked like the cheetah was looking. That's where we drove past the impalas. So now we're trying to be very, very sensitive to, let's say this cheetah is hunting. We obviously don't want to give it away. And, you know, if we're driving, it makes the impalas look, or, you know, it's unfair. So we're trying to keep our distance while still making sure we can see the cheetah. So you might get situations like this when it walks behind the tree, but it will come out like that. Absolutely stunning there in the sun. But it's looking around. So we're going to follow, as I said, at a distance and just see what happens. It's so nice to have an active cheetah. You know, some moving compared to that sort of more lazy one that we had a couple of days ago. But I think this one might have a couple treats in store for us this afternoon. Where it's heading, as I said earlier, remember, this is an area that we call Cheetah Flats. And that's where it's going. Big. A big open area. But you see he's walking, stopping. So what we're going to do, we'll follow him and send you back towards James and his leopards.
This little female has come and sat right next to the car. And I thought for one second that she was a bit more nervous than her brother. But she's got up from her mother and come to lie down 3 meters from the edge of the car. She's staring up at David. She's most impressed with him. I think she's going to perhaps be a photographer when she's older. She loves cameras, clearly. Wasn't she lovely? And for those of you wondering about spot patterns, we talk about spot patterns. And they are, of course, how we identify these leopards quite often. Not everyone does. But you can see very clearly that she is a 2-2 female. So if you look just above the whisker line, you'll see 2 spots on the left and 2 spots on the right. That noise you can hear is the sun now arriving with Mum. Now these leopards don't have names yet, the youngsters. I'm not sure who will name them actually. But with leopards, it's normally the people who found them first. That certainly wasn't us. So they'll be named probably when they're about a year old. Can anyone confirm for me, I'm sure James Richard must have tweeted it, but I didn't look, but how old they are now? Is it 10 months? They look about 10 months old to me. Hello, big fella. Look how much... Look how much bigger his head is compared with hers. Now these two, of course, are litter mates. Now they're going to have a little play next to us. Oh, this is magic. Can you believe it? Two little leopards. Not 3 meters from us. The male's now going round the back, while his little curious sister watches us. Now, I don't know how many of you remember this. Many of you will, but Tandi's sibling, whose name was Shongile, much younger sibling, brother of Hosanna, who now lives at Singita. She's now dead, but she reminds me very much of this leopardess, simply because she's a young leopardess, not because they look obviously the same at all. But she used to have the same inquisitive nature, and one of the most profound wilderness experiences I ever had was when she approached us on foot, and I wonder if this little cat won't be the same. She's so inquisitive. Thank you, Samuel. You're confirming that they're 9 months old. Yeah, so I'm glad I wasn't out by an order of magnitude. Just beautiful stuff. Wow. Let's have a last look at Mum. Now their father, we think, who do we think their father is? Probably Molwati, the male leopard, or Hukumuri maybe, but most likely Molwati. But it's possible that the old experienced bullet that is Tingana snuck in there and fathered these ones. It's most likely a leopard called Molwati, though, very shy male that we see very seldom. She's big. She really is a big female. My dear, your son is going to be a monstrous cat. You? What would you say, about 20% bigger than Tandy? Eh? I mean, my eyes are not great at deciphering these sorts of things, but I would say that she's about 20% bigger. Let's move around. That was profound. That was really very special. We'll see if they go up the tree together. Oh, is she behind us? Oh, we're right now? Oh, yes, let me get forward rather. The little male had gone to sleep just behind us. He got a bit of a fright when we started to move. Not enough to run away, though. There he is. Steph, you're saying it's either Molwati or Quarantine is the father. I would have thought that Quarantine's territory didn't extend far enough south, but it's certainly not impossible at all. Let me move again. Sorry about this. Oh, no, let me wait. There's a little female. I got into big trouble once when I started calling leopard cubs after the 2 royal babies, George and Charlotte. I shan't do that again. She's right in front of the car now, I can't move. Right, she's so close we can't see her. I think Mum might go up and have a meal now. She needs to do some tree climbing lessons because the way her son came out of that tree was slightly embarrassing for a leopard. I think we're going to miss her going up, I'm afraid, but I can't move right now. Oh, there she is. No, that's him. I didn't even see him coming up. She's climbing up the tree. Oh, this is just magic. There's the female going off away now. And Mum's using another very scraggly bush to get up into the tree where she'll try and have a meal. There, you can just see her. That's what the male was doing when we got here. He was eating from there. And it looked very uncomfortable, and I suspect before long she'll come up into the tree. There we go. Well done. Now she might try and reposition it. We are so lucky here. So lucky. Cleaning her face a bit. It's obviously got a bit of muck. A lot of muck, actually. Just watch for a rustle in that green tree behind, because her daughter might try and climb up with her, and then we'll move around. I don't want to move right now because the little male is next to us and he's fascinated by us. And by just sitting here quietly, I think we are hopefully gaining credit and trust. There, she's moving it now. Well, Ella, you'll find that a leopard is capable of pulling up an animal roughly twice its body weight. So she's a big female. I think she probably weighs in the region of 60 kilos. 55 maybe. I think she's big. And so therefore she could pull something the size of a Ngala bull up, in theory. I've never seen a leopard pull a Ngala bull up a tree, but I have seen leopards pull up young Kudu. But you know, for them to do that, the tree's got to be a little bit like this one, where the trunk hasn't got a whole lot of things that the animal's going to get stuck in. So if you go to the base of this tree, there's not a lot that a carcass or the horns or a leg will get stuck on as she pulls it up. It becomes very difficult once it's a scraggly bush that she's trying to drag it up. So if the tree's perfect for pulling something up like this one, twice her weight. And you can see immediately, as soon as she moves it, you can see how that small branch is making life really difficult for her. She can't just move it up the tree or move it down the branch, and that's what'll stop her taking something, you know, even this size up most trees. I don't think she hoisted this thing until, I don't know, I would have said she probably hoisted it last night. Oh, that's a lovely shot, isn't it? Hello, Sky. You rather attached to the royal lineage of Djuma and saying it would be fantastic if these cubs had been fathered by Quarantine or Konuma, who were Karula's kids or sons. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm also absolutely fascinated by the lineage of Djuma leopards, but I don't think to that extent. So it would be interesting. I think it's unlikely though, because they're just not. I mean, Konuma's quite a long way from here in Mala Mala, but maybe. I don't know how far south Sibuyi's territory goes. It does go into Mala Mala, so it's possible that Konuma is the father. I think he's a little bit further south though, but it's not impossible. Be nice to think about, I suppose, eh? I'm just going to read you something now from the great James Richard, and I do mean the great because really he sends us the most wonderful information. The male cub is Sibuyi's first son. This is her second litter, and her previous were both female cubs. One was killed by an unknown male. James thinks it was Umfokazi, so it almost certainly was, but the other reached independence and has been named Kupona. Thank you, James. Marvellous stuff. And then basic history on Sibuyi, courtesy of James again. Spot pattern 22, yeah, we got that. Born December 2013. Mother was Kilezi female, or the Shidulu female of Mala Mala and Londolozi. Her father was possibly the airstrip male. One litter mate, the Piccadilly female, is still territorial around Mala Mala. So she comes from quite far south. And who knows what's going to happen with you, little fella? Who knows what your little life history is going to be? It's such a precarious life for these things. They face so many threats. Nadia, no, I can't really. The tapetum lucidum is the membrane that sits behind the... I don't even know where it sits in the eye. I think it's behind the retina. And its function, as far as I can work out, is to reflect light into the eyes of a nocturnal animal. So it helps a nocturnal animal to see better, or indeed an animal that must be awake at night, like an impala. It helps them to see better at night. It reflects light into them. That's interesting. David literally lifted his hand to scratch his ear there, and the little leopard got a fright. Sorry about that. Promise he wasn't breakdancing on the back there. Anyway, he's calmed down again. Okay, so that's the tapetum lucidum, Nadia. I'm assuming you knew that, probably. Maybe you didn't, so then I would have satisfied your curiosity. But if that's all I know about it, I'm afraid. Right, we'll move around a bit, and while we do that, let's go back to Lauren and find out where she is.
We have just picked up on the freshest of fresh female leopard tracks going north on Cheetah cut line, for those of you that know the property. So I am wondering if it's Miss Kuchava or Tandy. That's the only females that would really use Cheetah cut line this far down. So I think I drove over the part before I saw them when they've cut off. So I don't know if they've cut off into Djuma or if they've cut into Torchwood, but they're piping hot fresh. So it's really, really, really promising that there could be a leopardess on Djuma. I'd love to catch up with Tandy. I really would. So we're just going to drive and check the areas and see if we can see our queen, or, oh, look at that squirrel, oh, and on top of the mound. Oh no, don't run away. Okay, it ran away. We were not fast enough. Now at this stage, it's looking up every single tree on the ground for tracks and an individual. And we do have an impala. Let's check him out and see how alert this boy is. Good afternoon, sir. Is this your little territory? I imagine it is. Natalie, I think you're using the wrong key. I keep getting the updates. So yes, each impala has sort of spatially separated themselves, and they do that using sort of scent marking and rubbing on vegetation, as well as vocalization. This is why they're snorting. So this male is obviously not snorting at the moment, but the reason they are snorting is to spatially distance themselves from one another to avoid clashes. The impala rams are clashing, absolutely, but none of them want to seriously injure themselves or risk death. So by snorting the way that they are, it's sort of, this is my territory, stay away, or we will clash. Many animals use it as spatial tactics. Leopards do it too. Even frogs do it. Just keep away from me. We don't need to clash. We don't need to headbutt. And that's how they do it, through vocalizations. So other rams will know, oh, I'm not going to go there because there's a very noisy ram over there. He sounds very dominant, very territorial. We're just going to let him be. We're going to find our own space. What are you doing with your legs? Are you dancing? I think he's trying to impress us. Okay, now we're going to keep looking because there's a female leopard around here. I know it. So as I bumble around Djuma, it appears that Miss Taylor McCurdy from EcoChain in Korongwe has finally found some signal and would like to say hello.
Hello everybody, sorry I didn't know that we were live just yet. My name is Taylor and on camera with me today is still Alex. Thank you for saving me. We are sitting at a dam where I once had tea and coffee, so hopefully we won't have any of the issues we've had before. But it's quite a nice scene. Just ahead there's lots of hippopotamus and all sorts of wonderful things that are just moving around. We'll have a look at them. They've moved out into the middle of the dam now. There they are. Hello. Quite a few hippo. Much more hippo than we've seen at Chippenberry Dam. Also, we have got some serious problems with our camera today. It's broke, basically, the connection. So it is going to be a little bit wobbly, so I do apologize for that. But you'll just have to bear with us. We're going to try and show you as many things as we can today, but it is proving to be quite difficult. But this is an enormous dam. I'm trying to count. I think I counted about 12 hippos so far. And it's getting to that time of the day where we might see them open their mouths. The massive teeth. It's also a crocodile. Alex, can you see it? Quite a big croc. Bigger than the juvenile one we have seen at Chippenberry Dam. Now, the nice thing about Korongwe is that there are many watering holes to visit and enjoy, as this crocodile is doing. This is just slinking through the murky waters. I can't see any more crocs up basking on the bank, but it's been quite a warm day here. It's been 29 degrees Celsius. Probably one of the warmer days we've had over the past week. and not a cloud in sight. Or some cirrus clouds, so maybe there are some rain. Maybe there is some rain on the way. Perhaps I spoke too soon. It actually looks like it's coming towards us. This is a bigger croc. I wouldn't say it's not an enormous giant. Again, I think some of the bigger crocs are just over 3 meters or so, around there. I haven't actually gone up to one and measured it, so I'm just sort of guessing. And there seem to be quite a few of them lingering around. I hope to get a big croc dam one day. Just so you know, I'm not on the call, so I'm not going to get any questions. Alex will just have to tell me when I have to do things. If anyone's wondering why I'm not answering any of your questions, I do apologize. I get called in. It's quite weird being on a phone call all, like 6 hours. I'm just going to sit quietly so you can all just listen to beautiful sounds.
Do hippos live in groups?
That's
Question, do hippos live in groups, Volsia?
well, you've asked from Alex via Final Control if hippos live in groups. They most certainly do. So you get a big bull, a big male. Oh, hello. This hippo might open its mouth. Chomp, chomp, chomp. So the big bull is in charge, and then he'll have his group of ladies.
Sorry about that, Karong. We're not playing ball with us this evening, but we're okay. Here, sat with our magnificent leopardess in the tree. And we've got an interesting angle of her front on. The sun coming onto her from the left. Not quite softening yet, but soon it will soften into those perfect golden hues, and we'll see the real flavour of her coat. Can you see the flavour of a leopard's coat? As I said that, I thought you should probably stop now, but I just carried on. Anyway, you get what I mean. The 2 cubs are down below, to the right. And she is very happily supping on her meal. It can be a little gruesome. I mean, it is pretty gruesome. But I find it's much easier not to think about it too much if you haven't seen the actual death occur. Isn't that interesting? Maybe it's from the fact that, I am a meat eater myself and have very seldom had to kill my own food. And so when you see a bit of dead flesh, it doesn't really affect you that much. But I got to tell you, when you see the life snuffed out of an animal here, it really is not pleasant.
Good afternoon, what's your plan? Yeah, Grant, we headed out about half an hour ago.
Game drive radio going.
South, and I'll stretch around a little bit on Portsmouth. Find it up somewhere near Officer Pan. That young male, 4 females, Portsmouth Prime, are on Gary Lane, right next to the pump house.
It's beautiful.
Alright, copy that. Yeah, I was planning on spending some time on Portsmouth. The tracks of that female leopard this morning, getting back in that direction. So that's not bad for the afternoon. Maybe we'll go to
Yeah, look at that look. Now, I've had some lovely information from various people, including a chap called James Tyrrell at Londolozi, who does their blog. Wonderful blog if you're ever interested in the goings-on in this area. He has a wonderful blog, and he's just sent me a picture of what is the Senegal Bushmale's territory. Oh, she's going to do this beautifully. That was gorgeous. I wasn't paying enough attention there. Missed it. Anyway, the Senegal Bushmale, who is Gunyuma, is, yes, indeed, much more on Londolozi than he is on Mala Mala these days. No, I'm not going to try and show you a picture in this light. But thank you for that information, and I just had it nicely confirmed by the chap who does the blog at Londo's. Let's go back a little bit. That was great. Now her son's performance of that little dismount earlier was just ridiculous. We'll catch up with these guys. You're going to go back to Ngala now and their spotted cats. I'm sure they must be about to hunt.
Come on, look here. Okay, so been quite a few things happening. We actually followed her for a while and then she ran away from us. We think she was actually chasing something into a thicket. Into a thicket, and we lost her for about like 10 minutes, Marcel? Yeah, roughly. And then we managed to find her again. Spectacular. So she's moved a fair distance, couple, maybe 500-600 meters from where we first had her. And she is now in a much more open area. Now you see how much she's moving around? She's looking around. If I keep quiet and you listen carefully, you can actually hear some impalas. And I think she's looking to hunt. That's just the kind of sort of body language that we've been seeing, the areas that she's moving into. And you must also remember, cheetahs, as we said earlier, daytime animals. What that means is that she's only got perhaps an hour or so left of hunting time before it gets a bit too dark for her. So if she is hungry, she is going to have to, get a lot more active. She knows time is running out. But I don't know if you heard my camera there, I try not to do it when we live, but I have been clicking away because it's just so incredible to see the cheetahs here. We have been very lucky in the last sort of week, 10 days, but to see one like this so active, such a beautiful looking royal animal. You compare it to the leopard that James has, which are also extremely active. How awesome, climbing up and down the tree. Now that you've seen that, the power that the leopard must have, to climb up the tree. Now look at the size of that leopard. Remember it was very bulky, big shoulders, that sort of thing. Now look at the cheetah. Even lying down like that, you can see it doesn't have the strength to climb up a tree. Its limbs are too long. It's too sort of lean and slender to try and climb up a tree. And that's why these animals have adapted to different lifestyles. Like a cheetah will hunt in the day because it knows things like the hyenas, the leopards, the lions are all sleeping. So its greatest chance of catching food and managing to eat all of its food is best during the day. Leopards, nocturnal hunters, just like hyenas and lions, so they're adapted by taking their food up a tree, as you see in Djuma, because then it's safe there. Well, lions, they're just big and brutal and they live in pride, so they're not really worried about where they catch their food. But it's amazing how all of the animals have different adaptations to survive. Look at the cheetah there, beautiful. Look at the chest. Hopefully she stands up again. It's a bit hard now with her stomach, but she's got a big chest, big lungs for when they're trying to run, when they're sprinting in the African heat, which hopefully we can witness. So very cool. I've seen cheetahs hunt on 2 occasions, and it's just phenomenal. Even if they don't even get close to their food. I saw 3 trying to hunt a waterbuck. Frankie, that's a very good question. You want to know what spot patterns we use to identify cheetah? Frankie, I can honestly tell you, I don't know. We don't get cheetahs frequently enough on Ngala in order to try and identify them. The ones that we did have, we had a mother that had four cubs, so we just called her the mother and 4. And then we had 2 males, they were just a coalition. I don't think, because if you look at the cheetah, it doesn't have those spot patterns above the whiskers. It's got no real spots on the face at all. There's a few coming down from the eye. But yeah, it's a good. I don't actually know the answer. Perhaps Taylor might know, since they see cheetahs a lot more often. They, know the animals sort of personally, like we know the leopards, and Djuma know their hyenas. So she might be able to give you a better answer. But yeah, as I was saying the other day, we go 8 months without seeing cheetahs, let alone being able to identify individual cheetahs. But let me do some research, and I will chat to Nikki, who is up tomorrow, and share some information with him about what I can find on how to identify individual cheetahs. Sounds like Taylor's having a bit of a communications problem. So tune in tomorrow morning, and I'll send Nikki some of the answers. I'm sure there is a way. They do have spots. There is a bit on the face. But maybe what you can do is also ask James. He's got the leopard, and we know how to do those spot patterns just above the whiskers with the leopard. So he might have a bit more information. Marcelo and I, we're going to sit here, carry on watching this beautiful animal. But in the meantime, those leopards are doing cool things in the tree.
Just climbed up, the little females climbed up. We had a lovely sighting of her going up the trunk. Now the light is softening sufficiently for us to hopefully get some direct light on her. And let's try over here. We'll try where we sort of started off this afternoon. We can, be convenient of Mum, take it up to a slightly higher branch, like that one there. It's not the best, but I think for now that'll do, hey? Her face is just hidden behind the scraggly bush that they've been using to climb into the tree. So very interesting, this first the little male cub ate, then Mum went up and ate, and then she went up and ate. And I've seen this a few times, or a lot of times with leopards and leopard cubs. They don't tend to share while they eat, they take turns. I suppose there's not a lot of space up there for them, but I've more often than not seen them eat at separate times. Eagle, when they're this age and the mothers are hunting, it's most likely that the cubs will probably play around. They'll stay within a small area, but they'll muck around, and especially the young male, he'll hunt a little bit. He'll go and catch little birds and lizards and try out his skills with mongoose maybe. So they will stay in a general vicinity. But, it's not impossible for a leopard to go independent at her age. She doesn't look like she's about to go independent, but it's not impossible for a leopard of that age to survive on her own. I think we should go around again. What would you say, Dolph? Let's just carry on going around the tree. We'll just basically keep circling the tree until we get the best picture of her. It's such a privilege to have 3 totally relaxed leopards here, taking turns going up the tree. Very, very lucky we are. The other 2 are in there. Let me just pop in this side. I don't want to give anyone a fright. So we just move very gingerly, very slowly. There are the other 2, off towards the left. We just watch their reaction and watch her reaction. How's that, Dave? Then you can get them all. Yeah. Is that right? I'm going to stay here. We can see the little female in the tree, but it's only her bottom currently. Poor old impala. Spare him a thought. And of course this is the time of the year that impala rams get murdered far more than they do at any other time of year. And that's because they're not paying attention to predators. All they're thinking about is their ladies and their harems and their genetic legacy. Obviously they're not thinking about that, but that's what is consuming them. And so they're much easier to kill than they would be at other times of the year, when younger impala would be a more obvious target. Queen Mary, we could go on about this subject probably for days, because it raises all sorts of interesting questions. To answer your question simply, no, I don't think that the female cub looks more sensitive than the male cub. They're both very inquisitive. They both came and sat next to us and looked up at us and investigated us. We've seen that with both of them. Do they exhibit different characteristics at this stage of their lives? Almost certainly, because they are definitely individuals and they will have different personalities. And a great example were those two leopards we were speaking about earlier, Quarantine and Gunuma. Gunuma, who is also known as the Senegal bush male, is a grumpy leopard, and if you see him on a kill, he will hiss and snarl and growl and charge at you. His brother, Quarantine, chilled as you like, totally relaxed, totally without stress in his life. He's the kind of, I don't know, Zen brother to his warrior. He's the Zen brother of the two, the other one's the warrior. And they were raised in exactly the same environment. The same will be the case here. Now, does the fact that one of them is a female and one of them is a male make a difference? For certain. They're now starting to hit puberty. You can see that because the young male has starting to develop those secondary sexual characteristics. He's getting a much thicker neck. He's building a lot more muscle than she is. And so, yes, the fact that one is male and one is female will definitely alter their personalities. There are those birds again calling. But whether it translates into one being more sensitive than the other, I don't know. I'm just going to sneak a little forward. She's got a little piece of meat on the ground now that she's dropped off. And this is quite interesting because we know, of course, that leopards do eat in trees. But what is interesting is that if they can eat on the ground, they will, because it's much more comfortable, it's much easier. All right, we're going to go back over to Ngala and the cheetah and find out what's happening with them.
So our cheetah has become lazy again. It moved slightly, as we were saying goodbye last time, and just moved into a little bit more shade here. Look, it is still quite hot. It has only, 20 to 5. Sunset here is probably around 5:30-ish, give or take 5-10 minutes. So she's got, just under an hour left of actual sunlight. As I said, it is still quite hot, so maybe she is just resting for a little bit longer. Still very alert, still listening, gathering a lot what's around her. There was a grey go-away bird that was calling, but he flew away. which is good. But I was just thinking to myself now, you know, so now this cheetah is maybe 80 meters from the one road and maybe like 150 meters from the other road. So it's quite far into what we call the block. It's quite far into the bush. You know, if we were driving any of these roads, you would just have no idea that the cheetah was here. And I discussed it the other day. I'm like, as much as, you know, all of us obviously trained professionals, and, you know, we do know what we're doing and how to do it and how to maximize our chances. But there's definitely a large portion of luck involved. You know, we knew, okay, vulture activity in this area. There's no tracks of lions. During the day like that, it's either wild dogs or it's cheetah. Let's go have a look. We came and had a look, and we found the cheetah close to the road. You know, so the training and the skill part comes in knowing what that vulture activity means and going there to actually look and knowing where to look. But the luck comes in the fact that, you know, the cheetah happened to be lying in the shade close to the road. You know, because like now, if we had driven past and there's vulture activity now, I mean, to find this cheetah here would be very, very difficult. So all of you viewers, very lucky with the sightings that we've been having today. Leopards in a tree on a carcass. Lauren had the elephants and the giraffe earlier. The cheetah. I mean, it's some incredible stuff that we're getting to witness at the moment. Even if they are just sleeping like this, they make it look fun. Jamie, of course. I mean, there's always a chance for animals to become extinct. You know, especially with human expansion and we making their territory smaller. We are putting a lot of these predators into so much closer proximity to each other. You know, we're back many years ago before we, you know, took over everything, we being humans. You know, there were obviously cheetahs and leopards and lions and hyenas and wild dogs all living in the same area, but they had enough space. Now we are minimizing that space, and these animals are coming into sort of conflict with each other a lot more often. And it just so happens that the cheetah is right at the bottom of that predator hierarchy. So if this cheetah comes across anything else, be it lion, leopard, hyena, wild dog, its food will get stolen. Lions will kill it. Leopards will kill it. Hyenas won't necessarily kill it, but they'll follow it and steal all of its food. Wild dogs, same thing. So these animals have a very tough time. And by us making their territories or their areas so much smaller, they are going to suffer. In terms of cheetah numbers in the world and how endangered they are on the list, that I'm not sure of. I think their populations are sort of maintaining. Their populations are maintaining. You know, you can breed them fairly easily in sort of captivity and smaller reserves that might only have cheetahs as their main predator. They are successful predators. You know, if you just put cheetahs in an area, they will do very well. So, yeah, all animals are at risk. Cheetahs maybe more so due to the reasons that I said. But I think for now, their numbers, as far as I know, are stable. Me and myself were chatting about sort of cheetah coalitions. You know, it does happen. As I said, we used to have a coalition of two brothers that came in. So it does happen. But it's not very often. It's not like lion coalitions. You know, and then we got into the subject of, is it just brothers cheetahs that will join up, or will sometimes, you know, one young male join up with a foreign young male and they'll form a coalition because it's easier, especially when you're younger. You know, cheetahs, they'll leave their mother maybe 2 to 3 years old, and now they're independent, they're trying to live, they're trying to survive, avoid everything else. So if you join up with another one, your chances are just slightly higher. So we were weighing up the options about how many coalitions are formed, how many are brothers, how many are just foreign males. I mean, there's so much we know about these animals, but there's also so much that, we can't be 100% sure of. And that's what makes the wild so fascinating. That's why we can do this every single day. Because I might tell you one thing now, and the cheetah's going to do the opposite. So listen. So I don't know if you heard that, but there's some male impalas fighting not too far behind us. And the cheetah just heard that. And that's why it's now paying all of this attention, because that's not far. I mean, those impalas were maybe 60, 80 meters away. And you see the interest. And how we've been sitting here talking, coughing, and it hasn't done anything. But as soon as it heard that impala relatively close, that just change in attitude, change in body language, change in focus. You can see how very wary. Can you hear that? I'm going to keep quiet and listen to the birds. Okay, of course now they stop calling, but there's 4 grey go-away birds in the tree here. And now that the cheetah's up and looking around, they were calling. Do you see what the cheetah's doing? It's looking around. It knows where the impalas are. It obviously heard them. It can narrow down where they are. But it's looking for anything that might give it away. Oh, beautiful. Looking for other impalas, maybe wildebeest, maybe zebra, maybe even hyenas, something that could give it away if it does decide to hunt. Now that is just a beautiful, beautiful posture. Sitting up like that, being alert. I'm going to stop talking so we can just enjoy it. You see, it looks like she was going to lie down again there, and she might just... Looks like she's trying to find another spot to get comfortable in. Yeah, there we go. So I think she's waiting. She's looking for opportunities, but doesn't seem to be that desperate. Which would make sense if she did catch some food this morning. She's not too desperate to hunt tonight. So we're going to sit here and see maybe she does get up again. But in the meantime, we'll send you to some animals that are eating.
This idiot managed to pull the entire impala down out of the tree onto the ground. And given what it smells like right now, I'd say that it will almost certainly be found by a hyena this evening, and so Mum is either going to have to take it up back into the tree a little bit later, or they're going to lose their meal. Look at the flies. Ooh. And she's eating a nice rotting piece of blackened carcass there. And of course, the inevitable question always is, will that not harm her? Can her stomach cope with that? And yes, it can. She won't get sick from that at all. That's the hip region, where the back legs used to affix to the body when that was a virile adult male impala, as opposed to a dismembered corpse, which he is now, being devoured by, well, hopefully a soon-to-be territorial leopardess of this area. She's going to take a little while still, I think, to push out or wedge out a territory here. The other two are fast asleep, by the way, and it's just next to us, fast asleep. Donald, they'll start hunting from now. In fact, from before now. They would have started killing, they'd have started with insects when they were very little, and progressed on to, if they were lucky, the odd bird, and then maybe a mongoose, or a scrub hare, or a baby scrub hare, a rodent perhaps. And that'll happen from, I mean, almost as soon as they leave the den and can climb. So let's say 8 to 10 weeks, they'll start killing little things. Killed it and then brought them over to come and feed on it. But while she was away hunting, as I mentioned, it's very likely that they wouldn't have just stayed in one place. They would have wandered around the place. And often we've seen leopard mothers coming to fetch their cubs around this age, calling and calling and calling and calling, and they don't have any luck because the cubs have wandered off, started mucking about elsewhere, often hunting for themselves. And I think one of the best examples of that I can remember, although we don't know exactly what happened, was Shadow's. So Tundi's sister or littermate was Shadow, and Shadow had a son called Sindila, and when he was about this age, I think he was 8 months old at the time, she'd leave him for 48 hours at a time, often, but he never ever looked hungry. Never. And he must have been killing little things, but always seemed to have a fat little belly. Lexi, a little bit confused by what you mean. The difference in texture between a leopard and a cheetah, you mean what their fur feels like? I don't know. I've never felt their fur. I've never got out to have a tickle of a cheetah or a leopard, so I don't know. It looks to me like a leopard's fur is softer, but I could be wrong. It's definitely got longer belly hair, I think. And belly hair on a leopard just looks like you want to snuggle into and snooze on it. I wouldn't suggest it, though. I think what looked like a very soft and subtle bed would quickly become like lying on razor wire. No, I don't think so, Corrine. Corrine, the rotting meat is pretty much a staple, you know. They'll eat lots of rotting meat. They scavenge a lot. So I think you'll find that rotting meat doesn't lose its nutritional value for them. It's obviously densely packed nutrients, and I think as long as the stomach acids and the digestive enzymes are functioning, I think you'll find that they can break down pretty much any of this stuff and derive nutrition from it. I don't think it has to be fresh at all. Oh, she's having a lovely time, isn't she? Mum is still fast asleep. She's kind of waking up a little bit. She's biting at flies that are savaging her. Saturday afternoon or Sunday, a leopard's got to kill, especially if she's got a cub, It means she doesn't have to work that weekend. She can just chill out. Ridiculous. Claire, this is the endless question that has no answer, I'm afraid. It's a bit like how long is a piece of string. Leopards will kill as frequently as they need to, and what determines that is basically the size of their prey and how much of it they manage to eat. So these three, if they manage to consume the whole impala without it being lifted from them by some hyenas this evening, or even a lion, what you'll find is that they will survive on it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days sometimes even longer. But if they kill a scrub hare and have to share that, probably won't share it, but let's say they killed a scrub hare and shared it, you know, they'll need to kill again the next morning for sure. So it really just depends on how much they've eaten up to that point. But they can go days without eating if they finish this whole impala. Those birds in this tree are still sitting there, and I don't know. I wish I could find out what they were. Maybe they're a late. I can only think it's a late breeding attempt by some hornbills. They are not happy that this leopard has chosen this tree to hang her impala in. What an afternoon. Just had a comment from the final control. It says, it's so peaceful but gnarly at the same time. I don't know what gnarly means. Natalie, would you kindly educate me? Gruesome, grotesque. Okay, I'm with you. So it is. It's completely peaceful and gnarly at the same time. Thank you. Yep, absolutely. Perfect description there, Natalie. I don't know who asked that last question, but no, the answer is they will not eat the horns. Almost nothing will eat horns. Belinda or polenta. I don't think it was polenta. They don't eat the horns. Oh, Melinda, not polenta. Never met anyone called polenta before. Always the first time. Melinda, polenta. Maybe you should change your name. The only thing that'll eat the horns is a keratophagous moth. Keratophagous moth. So that is a moth that eats keratin, and the keratin is the sheath that covers the horn. I suppose a hyena might try and bite through it if there was no keratin on it, but I've not seen that happen. So mostly, almost exclusively, it would be a keratophagous moth. Because only a keratophagous moth was the only organism that I know of that can digest keratin. I'm sure there are others. Good. Lauren's got herself some elephants. Let's go and have a look at them. No, we're going to stay here with me. I'm very happy staying here. I just wish this cat would turn around and look at us a bit. Also, I'm hoping Mum will pull the kill up into the tree. Alright, let's try now. They've got some signal and some elephants.
I have two naughty bulls here who have been fighting one another, pushing each other using all their might. And Owen and I are still alive. We went on the most epic adventure, everyone, to find the Torchwood Pride. The Torchwood Pride are lying flat on Gowrie Main, a little bit further east than we normally go. And unfortunately, just no signal in that area. But we tried for you all, everyone. I really, really tried my best. So did Owen. But it just wasn't possible. So we turned, we came back, and we found these two naughty bulls. The other one's just behind a tree. So they've probably formed their own little bachelor herd, and they're getting to that stage where they just want to tussle and push each other around, don't you? Yes. We saw you fighting. I did. We actually saw you push a tree over. It's not very nice to the tree, is it? Wouldn't it have been fantastic if we could have got the lions, cheetah, and leopard in one drive, the cat trifecta? But sadly, it's just a little bit too far. You don't like lions, do you? No, they're not your favorite boy. What a very handsome boy with a very smooth forehead. Yes, you're handsome, and I'm sure everybody who's watching thinks you're handsome.
Hey guys, I'm coming up behind you there.
Just going to turn my game drive radio off. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on you, mister. QMJ, you're asking which animal mother is the most protective. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to keep my eye on this bull. He was being a bit naughty there. That's a really tricky question. I think all mothers in the mammal realm are protective. They'll try and protect their offspring in any way that they can. It may not always be successful. It's a very tricky question. Elephant mothers are very protective. Leopard mothers, lion mothers, cheetah mothers. Antelopes are protective. They do care for their babies, but sometimes when they panic, I'm going to go forward, and I think I hope we don't lose signal here, but I think we'll get a lovely view if we just go forward a meter or so. How's that? You see the other one now. You see that big grey bottom. So yes, antelope mothers are protective over their young because it's an investment. It's an energy investment. And unfortunately, they have the tendency to flee. So they will flee if they panic, and it maybe appears to us that they're not being protective. So that's a really tricky question. I think most mammals, even your hyenas, look at Ribbon. She spends all day there, all day, guarding the den of her cubs. So I think in terms of mammals only, most mothers are protective of their offspring. It must be very stressful being a mother in the animal world. All sorts of threats, all sorts of dangers. They've stopped tussling. You can see the fork-tailed drongos are just sitting on all the branches nearby, waiting for that moment. Now, apparently those female leopard tracks, just to give you an update, because we've been missing in action for some time, went off into Torchwood. So it's definitely been Kuchava or Tandy. You can see it basking in the orange glow as the sun is starting to set. It's getting to that time. Soon it will be golden hour. You see the drongo just landed there. Another one. 2 drongos, 2 elephants. Are they being nice and calm now? Yes, no more fighting. That's good, boys. An elephant's only really considered a gentleman once they reach 40 years plus. Then they calm down a little bit. They still go into must, but it's almost as if they understand. I think we can go forward. Natalie, are you still there? I just want to check, because it's gone eerily quiet, and we are in a tricky signal patch. Just wonder if we've lost. Oh. Oh, apparently I have lost Natalie. And I have received a message that as we admire these 2 bulls, we're going to send you all the way back across to andBeyond in Ngala with Sean.
And we got some activity. So now she's moving, which is quite lovely. You can see still looking around while she's moving. But now look at the tail. Look at how much that stands out. Look how thick it is on the end. See, very, very thin as it leaves the body. And you just get thicker and thicker and thicker as it goes. Now we have mentioned already how sort of fast the cheetah is. And what it will do is use that tail while it's running as a counterweight, sort of a counterbalance as it's running. So we're going to stop over here. And then we got it walking away. I'll just look. If it turns faces with its in this it's amber in their catching light. It just they good look. She's getting hard to get. We got it now. Look at this. The white tip on the tail and the black behind the ears. That's what the white tail.
Sorry about that again. Never mind. We're still here with our leopard. And we've come round the other side. And naturally she has been feeding very comfortably and very happily right until the moment you came over to us. I'm going to move now because I think that we're going to have a little bit of
you know.
No, I'm going back to camp.
Okay, copy that, Peter. Thank you for your effort. Okay, so we're still with this leopard. Now, before we disappeared, I was telling you about what stood out, sort of the tail and the black behind the ears. You can still even see it now. So cheetah. The tail of the cheetah, that white, is for cubs. You know, you're walking through the long grass. I guess the cubs that they have on Karongwe, quite low to the ground. So it's easy for them to see that white so they know where to go. Where the black on the ears, you can see much, much higher. Obviously, when this cheetah is stalking, it drops down a lot. But if it does have youngsters that are, it's trying to teach them to hunt, they're following the mother, they're learning, they will see those ears and they can know, okay, look, mom's going that way, so let's try and go this way. And it's very similar to lions. That's how lions hunt as well. They go in a pride, they hunt together, they watch each other's ears, and that's what stands out from the back, what the impala's not seeing. So it seems like she's gone around the bush here. There, she's still going away from us. Let's see. You see how she's moving along the edge of this thicket here. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, cheetahs only hunt in the open and they need big plains and, they never hunt in bushes and things like that. It's not true. This cheetah would happily move into this area here and hunt inside here. In fact, it helps in a way. Cheetahs, they get very, very tired when they run, when they're sprinting. So if they can stalk a lot closer to their food, it will be great for them. And that's why in an area like this, which is relatively thick, would be great. So we're just going to wait here. So Marcel's going to scan to the right there, and you'll see the cheetah coming through the gap. Now, I promise you it is coming. It's actually right there through the trees. I mean, look at that camouflage. Yes, there's a bush in the way, but look how the spots help it blend in there. I mean, it's even with the greenery, the cheetah still blends in. Like now you can see it there because you've been following it. But imagine it just stops behind that green bush. It is, if you're an impala and your life depends on something like this, you can see how this camouflage makes it so hard to find the animals. Okay, well, Sal's going to fall out the car, so we're just going to move a little bit and turn just like that. Kyle from South Africa, how strong is a cheetah's bite? That is a very good question, Kyle. I have never been bitten by a cheetah, so I can't tell you firsthand, but I reckon it's not very strong, hey? Look at the size of its head, look at the size of its jaws, Kyle. It's very, very small. Its bite force, I would say probably quite a lot less than something like a leopard, significantly lower than a lion, 100% lower than a hyena. It doesn't have a strong bite force. In terms of its actual PSI, I don't know. We were Googling this morning when we were looking at the hyenas crunching those bones. We looked at the top 10 and the cheetah did not feature on the top 10. So I would say not very strong. Cheetahs, when they hunt, they eat their food very quickly. So their jaws, they're just ripping off fresh, soft meat. They don't need to crunch bone, things like that. So their jaw strength doesn't need to be too high. She's taking a very funny path. I'm trying to figure out where she's going. If she's going for water. Oh, we stood on maybe a little thorn there. She's heading towards the road, which is lovely. And it will take her down into the river, which she could then go across the river. There's a waterhole further down to the left here. So I'm not sure exactly what her plan is going to be. What we're going to do though is see if we can get around to the road and then wait for her on the road. We're not going to go that way. Let's go this way. But questions, was she there? Because that's where that lion that used Eric and the cousin.
We're just having such a lovely time here. Listen. She's getting cross because she doesn't want to be groomed. Not enjoying bath time. You know, you'll read that big cats can't purr. I'm pretty sure what we're hearing is the equivalent. I don't think she's objecting at all. She seems to be loving her little clean. It's not really purring though, it's growling. But I'm pretty sure that in some ways the growling was an indicator of pleasure like purring. But isn't it amazing how deep her little voice is? Dungeon Girl, I love this question because I don't know that there's an answer to it, which are the best kinds of questions, of course. Dungeon Girl, I think they do, yes. I do think that animals mourn their losses of their babies. I don't know how to describe that, though. I don't know. For us, it's an intensely emotional feeling, and we don't tend to think of it in a hugely scientific way. We tend to think of it in a very psychological way. And because we talk a bit about mourning as such an emotional human response to loss, I don't think we often consider the biological reasons, A, and B, physiological factors that cause us to mourn or that make us feel sad and make us feel desperate and make us feel loss. So many of the hormones and chemicals that operate in our brains and make us behave and feel the way we do operate in the brains of animals like this leopard. And there is most likely some kind of evolutionary reason that we feel a sense of mourning. And I suspect quite strongly that that has to do with firming up a mother-youngster bond and a familial bond. And when that bond is broken, it creates this sense of sadness and mourning. And the advantage of that is almost possibly that this familial bond is strengthened by an attempt to avoid that feeling of pain and suffering. Now, I've not read anything about this, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I have no reason to believe that the incredibly powerful bond between mother and youngster here, between mother and cub, shouldn't be subject to the same suites of chemical reactions that our own human mother and child bonds are. And so yes, I think biologically it makes perfect sense that when this leopard loses a cub, she would feel some sense of loss or mourning. How to describe that, I don't know. But so many of the same chemicals are operating in her that I've got no reason to believe that she wouldn't. Does that make sense? So a lot of the time, when we talk about things like this, people often think we're anthropomorphizing, which often we are. We're often doing exactly that. We're often projecting our human emotions onto animals. And it used to be an extremely unfashionable thing to do. Something that really, if you wanted to be taken seriously as a biologist or as a scientist, you just didn't do that. But now, the more we understand about ourselves and about animals and about physiology and hormones, etc., the less sense it makes to suddenly put a blanket across emotion and say it's purely for humans. Interesting discussion. Let's go to Lauren. She's got a bird of prey.
I have a gorgeous mid-morph Tawny eagle. And that's how the Tawny eagle feels about that. In case anyone was wondering. It's a pale morph mixed with darker colours. I would say this is one in the middle. It's not the palest I've ever seen. It's not the darkest for sure. Tawny eagles are one of the raptors that have quite a range of colour morphs. And this one is stunning. Off we go, just like that. Oh, nice one. Oh, and we've still managed. We've still got him inside. Oh, look at those fluffy, fluffy legs. Preparing for winter. Got the leg warmers on. And straight away, even I find raptors very difficult to identify until you get a really good view. But even silhouetted, you can tell a Tawny. Beautiful. We're on our way to the Hyena day, and I think there's a bit of a queue this evening. But I want to go see my rib robs and her little rib robs. But we saw this Tawny eagle on the way. Aren't they stunning? Got quite a long neck for a bird of prey, but a really easy to identify body shape. Diurnal birds, so probably because the sun is setting, probably trying to get ready. Where is one going to roost tonight? You can see the gorgeous coloration. I wonder why it keeps looking down. Very visual. These birds are very visual. Keen, acute eyesight. So just as we're starting to lose light, I wonder if this bird is trying to seek anything before it's bedtime. You see that sharp curvature of the beak. So even from a distance, when you can't quite make out the coloration or you can't see the yellow gape, you're not sure, that beak straight away would tell you it's a Tawny. LVH, I have no idea. I really don't know. I think it would depend on what eagle you're talking about, to be honest. We have many, many different species of eagle out here. We have the Tawny eagle, the lesser spotted eagle. We do get steppe eagles are sometimes spotted out here. I've never personally seen one. African hawk eagles, Wahlberg eagles, long-crested eagle, which Darby and I got really lucky to see not so long ago. Martial eagles. There's so many different types of eagles that, because they do have such good eyesight, they can soar very, very high and rely on their eyesight to still see what's going on in the ground. But as for how high, I am sorry, I really have no idea exactly how high an eagle can fly. But the martial eagle, there's a juvenile around here somewhere, is the largest of all the birds that we see out here. Hopefully that juvenile will stay around for quite a while. I've not seen that many martial eagles here, especially in comparison to the Masai Mara. And raptors generally use their sharp beak and talons to capture their prey. Luna, you're asking, can I tell if it's a male or female? I actually can, I'm afraid. The females are larger, so if you were to see two of them sitting together, then you would know immediately that the female was larger. But they're monogamous, so it's quite common to see the males and females together, or they're supposedly monogamous, should we say. But other than that, that's very, very difficult to identify between the two. But I am just going to quickly show you a diagram, Owen, if that's okay. I've got it ready on my phone, just to show you the range of colour morphs, and this is just a few. This is what I mean by colour morphs when I say that. We've got the dark form here on the right. Oh, and I'll just give you a close-up. And then this is sort of mixed one. This is what we're looking at up here. It's an in-between, a mid form or a medium form. And then down here you've got a real pale form. And there's lots of other sort of ranges and mixed palettes that you get in between. So that's what I mean when I talk about colour morphs. And we are looking at this sort of mixed one here. And unfortunately, you just cannot tell between male and female, other than if they were sitting next to each other, you could go by their size. He's still perched up there. Shall we have one more look at him? Or her? Sid, you're asking what is the Tawny eagle's wingspan? It's definitely under a meter, but as for the actual size, oh no, I'm looking at my bird app. It says wingspan 1.7 to 2 meters. And there you go. So possibly a meter on each wing. So that's 6 feet if you are American. I'm not sure which country you come from, but there you have both measurements. So there you go, 2 meter wingspan, very large wingspan. A very, very powerful bird. But the largest wingspan that you do find in South Africa is a wandering albatross. That comes in at, on average, 3.6 meters wingspan. And the marabou stork comes in next at 2.9 meters, very, very close. And then you have the lapid-faced vulture. We don't see too many of them around here, but they are the huge vulture species, magnificent birds, and their wingspan comes in at about 2.8 meters. Okay, so I'm going to head on to the hyena den now. Hopefully, the little ones are out, but of course, James has little ones of his own.
Who have headed off into the bushes. I don't know if they'll come back, actually. I'm sure they will at some stage, but they've left young Mister here, or young Master, having the final bits of the kill. I really hope they pull this into the tree again, because otherwise they won't be here tomorrow. And I think they're on the very northern extremity of their territory. And so they'll probably head further south from here, which would be, well, rather tragic given how wonderful it has been to meet them. He's doing a little bit of playing, but quite a lot of eating, and quite a lot of playing now. And he's now shearing the meat off the skin. So he's not actually trying to eat the skin. No, Mr. Black Dragon, the scavengers will come now. If a hyena smells this thing, it will arrive forthwith, and this leopard will have to scamper up the tree and look as his meal is devoured. His mother will not come and help him, because he's big enough to get up a tree and stay out of harm's way, and he'll be very aware. If he hears anything approaching, he'll quickly become aware and look to leap up the tree. So if a hyena picks this up, the smell of this thing, and the wind is blowing slightly from the north to the south, so from on your picture from the right to the left, then if a hyena is sitting sort of, I would say within 2 kilometers of here, it's not rotting badly, but it is starting to smell. I'd say a hyena within 2 k's of here to the south will definitely pick it up and make its way along this path, beetle its way over here. Which is why, of course, you put it in the tree in the first place. Caitlin B, as I've just said, she won't do anything. She will leave the cubs be. She will leave them to climb up the tree and fend for themselves if a hyena came. If a hyena got really close and the cub didn't know what was going on, she'd probably charge the hyena. I doubt she'd engage with it physically. And there's a horrific sighting once, before I started, where a leopard cub was killed by a hyena while we were live. And the mother she growled and hissed from the top of a branch. But unfortunately, the cub was killed. And she didn't jump down and try and kill the hyenas. Just roll back slightly. Yes? More? Maybe a bit more. Oh, I've done a superb job there, haven't I? I'm not sure we'll get it too much better than that. But at 9 months old, he's perfectly capable of climbing up into the boughs of a tree on his own. Your only worry would be that he is not sufficiently aware of what's going on around him. So if he did hear a footfall, would he realize that it was a hyena, or perhaps think that it was his mother or sister? Let me go back a little bit. Luke, it's a lovely question, because many people wonder about whether or not these animals get tame. And the answer, interestingly, for leopards is no, they don't. So while they become completely habituated to our presence, sometimes even on foot, they are never tame. You could never go and touch one. You could never go and keep one or have one as a pet. People have tried to keep leopards as pets, and it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to keep any wild animal as a pet. And they do tame as cubs. You can tame them up, but as soon as they hit this sort of age, they get very wild. And they become totally unplayable, and then they become dangerous. And you will read stories of people who've had remarkable relationships with wild leopards and have walked with them while they've hunted. We've walked with leopards while they've hunted around this age, sometimes with adults. But they don't tame completely. They never become like domestic animals where you could walk up to them and give them a tickle behind the back of the ears. Now, there's a very interesting chap called Kim Wallater, and if you don't follow him on Instagram, I'd suggest you go and find him immediately, because he's habituated a clan of wild hyenas up at Mashatu completely, to the extent that they accept him in the clan, and they interact with him physically. So he can tickle them, they'll come up, the cubs will come and lie on him. Totally wild hyena clan, not raised in captivity, raised in the wild, and he's just ingratiated himself with the clan. And I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I find it absolutely fascinating that he's managed to do that. Alright, so I guess that's a good note on which to head over to the hyena den, where Ribbon is.
Ribbon is doing what Ribbon always does. And she's stinky, full, fat, and semi-happy looking. And I'm very happy to be with her. Hey, Ribs, my girl. You're not going to get any boyfriend smelling like that, I'll tell you. She has been up to something. Look at that face. Look at that body. Look at that belly. Ish. I think she's eaten an elephant. What do y'all think? An elephant bull in must. That's what I think. She swallowed it whole, actually. No sign of the cubbies, but it's a game of patience. Another vehicle came and they left immediately and said the cubs are not here. But as you all know, they may be down for the night already, or maybe they've just not popped out yet. I think we might wait a little bit longer and see if we can get lucky. Is that okay, Rib Robs? Oh, she's uncomfortable. There's elephants all around as well. We actually saw them as we were coming in. The elephants love this block. This is Ribbon doing her seal impression. Safari boy, it's a tricky question, because how do we really ever know if animals have dreams? But I do think that you would have to separate the sort of classifications of animals out. Mammals is the easiest one for us to relate to, because we're mammals. We are animals. We must never forget that. So if us being mammals, we have quite deep dreams and, well, crazy dreams. Sometimes I wake up rather traumatized from my nightmares. I personally believe that mammals do dream. And of course, it's a state of, well, consciousness, I guess, in their REM stage of sleep, rapid eye movement. And I think as long as a mammal goes into that period of sleep, REM they call it, then that's when dreaming occurs. And I believe most mammals experience it. That's my opinion, but I'm not entirely sure it's scientifically proven. A lot of scientists are looking into it because it's so interesting. But this is only for mammals. I think it would be really difficult to determine. Look at those gnashers. I think it would be really difficult to determine if a fish or a mosquito dream. I wonder what a mosquito dreams of. Its next victim. Who am I going to bite? But yes, I believe that mammals do dream, and I think that's the general consensus. As long as they enter into the REM stage of sleep, then I think they dream. But who knows what they dream about? I wonder what Ribbon dreams about. Ribbon, do you dream about eating ginormous elephants? That's a yes, everyone. But my dog, I just watch my dog, my beagle, Poppy, at home when she's sleeping, and she always appears to bark or growl or chase. Her little legs are always moving. She's not going anywhere. She's clearly dreaming about something. So I think when it comes to mammal and their cognition, as long as they enter into a deep sleep, yes, I think they do dream. What a great question. Why is one so tired? Rob, hyenas do regurgitate food if they're too full, but it's not for each other, like wild dogs. So wild dogs obviously have a very cohesive social structure, and it's very important for the pack. It's all about the pack. If you're a dog, a wild dog, your whole life is about the pack and your place in the pack. And the adults tend to eat very, very fast because they want to avoid scavengers. Scavengers like Ribbon or leopards or even lions. And that's really why they eat fast. So they've got to get it into their tummy. And then when they get back to the den, they can regurgitate for the puppies. So it means the puppies were not taken to the site of the kill. The puppies were kept very, very safe in the den. And they can bring the food back to the puppies, and they do this through swallowing and then regurgitating. But hyenas do not do this. They're too greedy. Ribbon will eat it all, won't you? But they can sometimes bring back bits and bobs and bones and horns and flesh for the cubs once they reach that stage in development. And they will regurgitate if they're too full. I've seen a hyena vomit before, and it's not pleasant. But they won't do it for their cubs, which is what I think you're asking. Once it's in Ribbon's belly, it ain't going anywhere. There's only one way out, and it's not through your mouth, is it? She's so uncomfortable. I think she's eaten fairly recently. Where's your babas, my girl? Okay, I think we're going to stay here a little bit longer and hope the Ribbon's little ones come out. The sun is starting to go down, and we're going to send you guys back across to Sean to find out what happened with his cheetah.
Blue. Oh, now I gotta work again. Hey, hey, hey.
Oh, hello. You're back with us. Luckily, I wasn't blowing my nose there. That would have been very unpleasant for you. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there. But you're back with us and Ribbon. I'm just looking in absolute amazement at how uncomfortable she really is. And from the smell, I actually think this is recent. I think she's scavenged something really recently, and that's why her face appears wet. She's got all sorts of blood and mud on her side, and she's so full that it's uncomfortable.
Michelle,
I think that's why.
Michelle?
We're going to go into IR.
Just turning my radio off.
We're going to IR.
So I'm a bit, oh, okay. Owen needs to go into IR. So your screen is going to change from color to black and white. That means we've lost far too much ambient light now that sun is going down. She sees something. I wonder if it's another hyena or if it's the elephants. I really can't wait to see Djuma clan interactions. Once the other hyenas really start coming here, we'll be able to gauge who sits where on the hierarchy. Now, I've given it a guess. I've got a sort of idea of who sits where. Ribbon's definitely at the top. But I'd love to see the interactions, to see really, really who is more dominant over who. I want to see Corks. I've not seen my girl Corky for a very, very long time. I want to see Ribbon and Corky interact. Corky, for those of you who are not too sure, was the previous matriarch. The matriarch when I first arrived. And I really, really want to see what Ribbon and Corky's interactions are like. I imagine Corky will just be very, very submissive and let Ribbon dominate her, but, you know, I still want to see it. We had the most incredible sighting with the cubs the other day. I felt so lucky. I'm not sure I'll get another sighting like that again. They're really starting to explore outside the den, and once they do, they exhaust themselves. They don't have that much energy. They're only small. So once they're exhausted, of course, they're going to need to go back into the den and snooze. Ribbon, I think you have something hanging off your chin. A lovely little piece of drool, maybe. I love this girl so much. And I know that many of you have also fallen in love with Ribbon. I can hear noises as well. Can you hear anything? Well, I don't know if those elephants are actually not too far behind us. Or it's something else. I'm not sure we're going to get lucky tonight. I'm torn. Do I stay with Ribbon until the end? Or do I head to quarantine for a last minute something? I think we might stay with you, Rib Robs.
Your com's working.
Saka normally spends quite a fair bit of time around the den. It's been been a while since I've seen Saka. I know that Swazi was here this morning. Someone sent me a photo. So I think I've made up my mind. I'm going to sit here and wait on my cubbies, but we're going to send you guys across to James and his cubbies.
I still have one cub. Mrs. and Miss have gone off, I suspect, to find a puddly from which to drink, and I'm sure they'll come back sometime soon. We're now obviously in infrared. It is infrared, and in the distance you can hear the impala still screaming at each other, and if they're not very careful they're going to end up like this fellow. No, not you. The impala. He really is making a proper meal of this. He had a fat belly when we found him this morning. He's going to be even fatter tomorrow morning. Hopefully they'll still be here. They could be. As long as Mum puts us in a tree, they'll be here. Now, if she was actually going to leave the site completely, she'd call him. She wouldn't just leave him here and walk off. So I'm pretty sure that she and the daughter have gone where they went this morning to have a drink. And then they'll both come back. There's still a lot of meat left. And I think mainly the forequarters, maybe a little bit of the rump. I don't know how much rump there is. Quite a lot of neck. So I think there's a goodly amount of meat left for them to eat. We've had an absolutely cracking drive. I'm sure you'll all agree. If you would like to continue watching these cracking drives, some of them not so cracking, some of them are just peaceful bumbles in the bush, and it's great to have you along for those too. You can support us, and you can do that by going to wildearth.tv/support. That's wildearth.tv/support. Thanks. He's pretty careful. He's looking around. So every time he hears something that he feels he shouldn't, he looks around, checks what's going on. I'm just looking behind us. I can't see the other two. I can hear a bit of movement though. Be nice to have all three of them for the last few minutes of our drive. Very pleasant afternoon it's been to come and spend 2 hours with three wonderful leopards like this. It's just so spectacular. Alright, I think we'll probably try and reposition now and see if we can get a slightly better view of his face. In the meantime, let's go all the way up to Ngala and find out what happened to that cheetah as night slowly closed in on the low veld.
And we're back. Okay, so I was with you and then we had to leave you. But I was telling you about the cheetah that we had. So she crossed into the river and then we drove around and we found her again in the river. But then some baboons came and they started calling and all of that. And then the cheetah went back up the bank, back to towards where we've last had her. And by the time we got around there, she had disappeared. So she went quite quickly up the bank. You know, the baboons calling attracts a lot of attention, which I think she did not want. Especially now, you can see we got the spotlight out. It's getting very dark. So that cheetah is going to start having a disadvantage in terms of eyesight. So it doesn't want to be found. So I think she moved away from those baboons, trying to get some distance, find a place to to spend the night, to sleep. So we left her, and now we are having a look. So this is where we dropped Rowan off this morning. Well, no, this afternoon rather. And I just got a message from him now. So he just got back to the lodge. He's been walking the entire afternoon. So the last sort of 3 hours, he's been walking around looking. And I just got a message saying, I have sore feet. So let's remember to thank him for his efforts. He didn't find the leopard, but he tried very, very hard for us. And I'm hoping now that it's leopard time, sort of leopard, lion, hyena activity time. We might find this leopard maybe walking down the road or crossing the river. And the fact that he was moving around this morning quite late into the morning would suggest to me that he was hungry and he's looking to hunt. So it would make sense that he is out now doing the same thing, looking to hunt. But that's a good sign. Even if we don't find him tonight, at least he will have lots of tracks for us to follow in the morning from walking around hunting. But while we continue to search, we're going to send you across to Lauren, who's also searching.
I am also searching. My plan failed, as it sometimes does. And Ribbon just decided to get up and walk away. I think she heard me say that I was going to stay with her until the end. Is that a nightjar? What's that perched on the end of that branch there? Look at me. You got it? Is it too far away? Yeah. Oh, I think it's just a nightjar. Never mind. I think it's too far away for the IR light to actually pick up what it is. But you can just see two huge red eyes staring back at you. And that's what we're looking at when we've got our spotlight out. Big eyes. Any nocturnal creature. It's a little bit too early for the nocturnal animals, but the predators and the crepuscular animals for sure we have a chance of seeing in this light. I thought I saw a pair of eyes there, but I'm probably going crazy. All the impala, and I'm sure the wildebeest will be huddling together on quarantine to prepare for a chilly night. It's very, very cold. I've lost my fleece. I don't know where I put it. I think I misplaced it, so I'm all wrapped up in blankets for now, or at least my Kenyan sugar. Jamie Pan, no, I really don't. I've had a few moments, especially during my training, that maybe made my heart skip a little bit faster, but have always worked with wildlife, be it ocean animals or terrestrial animals. I've really always worked with wildlife. I spent time in the Ecuadorian Amazon. I've lived on islands where tsunami warnings came, and I think with wildlife, it's all about your approach. Of course, unexpected moments will happen and you have to be ready for them, but I think you just need to be sure that you never become complacent. You have your wits about you at all times and you're prepared. Expect the unexpected, I think is the best sentence for this job out here. I really think that fits the bill. Just always be ready for something and read the wildlife, never become complacent. There's a saying out here of the Sabi Sand complacency syndrome. And I completely understand it. If I ever feel myself going that way, I give myself a very hard slap in the face, just to remind you that these are wild animals. This is their habitat. We are just visitors. We're just here to see the wild animals along with you guys and show them to you guys. We must never become complacent. Of course, it's better the animals are habituated, not just for us, but also because you do not want animals to fear you and go into a state of panic every time they see you. Okay, I'm going around quarantine for a last minute anything, but as I do that, we are going to send you back across to Mr. Hendry and his leopards to close the show.
Our leopard has absconded. I don't know where he's gone. He heard it shuffling behind us. I looked down and then I heard and he was gone. And I don't know if he's run in fear or if he has perhaps heard his mum. I'm just going to get a light out in case so that I don't run anyone over. There he is, straight in front of us. Just there. You see him, Dov? There, yeah. Just there. So straight above where the light's shining. Just tilt up, keep going. There he is. Just shining around to see if I can spot the others. I'm pretty sure that's what was moving in the bush, because he would have gone somewhere else had it been something more substantial. Anyway, we'll sit with him like this. I'm definitely not going to shine a light on him, and in fact, given how dark it's got, if we weren't close to the end of the show, we'd probably leave him, because I don't know exactly where his mother is, although I'm pretty sure she's very nearby. Sweet little cat. What a joy you've given us today, my boy. Such a fantastic thing to meet you and your sister and your mum for the first time for me. Many of you have met Sibuyi before, I think, but I haven't. A bit of movement off to my left. He's looking. We're not going to move now. Don't want to distract him if there's a scavenger around. And don't worry, if there is, he'll just scamper up a tree. He'll be absolutely fine. He's big enough to look after himself now. What an amazing day. Cheetah cubs in the morning, cheetah female in the evening, these 3 leopards twice today. Absolutely spectacular. Couple of elephants, couple of birds, a few interesting trees, beautiful autumnal early winter low felt weather. Perfect Saturday. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for your questions and comments. Stay safe, happy, and most importantly healthy wherever you happen to be in the world. Bye bye.